Howdy, all of you delicious people. I'm here today to review episode 7 of Chucky. So, going towards this episode, it feels that this is just a transitional episode to just build up to the end of it. We still either have these consistent shots of Andy and Kyle just trying to get somewhere, or like they're just really just doing these like small parts for these characters, I guess, to finally build them up to make their way to when they have to go on and try to fight out Chucky. I'm assuming, I'm assessing, I'm hoping. We also seem to have, again, more pointless flashbacks, but at least we don't have movie footage, so that's great. At least they're not recycling some footage from somewhere. And so I can appreciate them not doing that for one episode. But mostly this episode kind of breaks down as like this transitional episode, that it's a transition us to the end. The only impressive thing that happens in this whole entire episode is what is going on with Junior, and that part has to be must see. Really, because I actually enjoyed what they did there with Junior. But anything else, it's just kind of like I could take it or leave it. We have, of course, some time with the mayor, of course, doing this goofy thing to try to boost morale for the town. And it seems like every single episode, they weirdly have to end this episode with some kind of song of sorts. Like in the previous episode before, when the principal was to be rolling out with her head, it was like, off with your head, dance till you're dead. Like that old song. And I was like, okay, that makes sense to have that be put into that like thing, because you have to have a goofy tying of a song to an event. But at the end of this episode, they have the, like, I'm not sure exactly the exact title of this song, but it's like, we got the beat, we got the beat, we got the beat, we got the beat, hey, we got the beat. Okay, sure. Like, I guess that means, like, you beating somebody. But just like I want to see where I want to see where this heads. I want to kind of see how this all plays out. But it's about that time again to just go into spoilers about this one, because I feel like there's probably not enough spoiler for me to kind of tee anything up here, and I think that I've kind of gone in a roundabout way of of kind of saying some things that go on into this episode. So Nika is still in this episode. Like, I guess I can say that. Just in case people were thinking that this character is to still, like, are we still going with this character? Yeah, we still are. For whatever reason, we're going to keep having this character still continuously tied into the show. For whatever reason. Like, how is this going to pay out? I'm kind of curious. So, with that said, let's just go into that double five. Let's go into spoilers. Let's go and talk about it, because it's about that time. Let me know in the comments below how you felt about this show so far. Like, if you had really liked the early stages of it, and maybe you've fallen off since then. Maybe you're just like, just not as good as a show, or not as good as it was, or whatever. Or maybe people are like, no, man, like, I've been really loving the build so far. I've been really enjoying what they've incorporated here, because I'm a big Child's Play Chucky fan, whichever. And so I'm really loving them tying into all these things, because a lot of people have a lot of different reactions. Like, I can whine and cry about certain episodes, but then I can enjoy other ones, which is gonna just have me continue to go into this journey, because I can still, even when I whine and cry about an episode, like, I still feel like there's a chance, there's an opportunity for a good episode the next week. There's certain other shows where they just, like, continue to just, like, they just suck every episode. They just suck every time I go into, like, oh my god, what are we gonna get this week? This one has this kind of, like, this kind of back and forth that I'm kind of really enjoying, to just kind of pick and choose what I find to be the most favorite thing of an episode, if the episode isn't completely 100% to my delicious liking. So, let's go into spoiler time. Spoiler time, it's about the time we need to spoil this episode. So, very beginning of the episode, we have, of course, everybody going, and I guess they're at this, like, this, like, aftermath funeral, I would have to say, or just family get together to grieve over the loss of Bree, who had taken her own life. And so we, of course, have Jake, who is to, of course, mourn Bree, because he just is to also feel like Junior is to say, where Jake may have been responsible for all of these deaths. And so now Jake is to kind of carry that on with him, to just be like, hey, maybe if I wasn't here, maybe a number of these people would not have died. Or he would have probably just found some other kid who is to be Chucky to manipulate, and, like, people would have died regardless. But Jake goes out and is to go and spot Devin and hug him. And so Jake is to find out that Devin evidently is to be living with his aunt currently. And there is a possibility that Devin is going to move out of his home and go with his aunt, but there's no surefire bet that he is going to completely stay with his aunt, that he might have to move from foster home to foster home to foster home until Devin can really find a real legitimate home, possibly. I'm like, oh my god, that really sucks. And so so Devin is to just be kind of devastated, and he's going on and talking to his podcast and kind of talking about his mom at some point. So let's kind of, in a very roundabout way, let's, like, I think we're going to go back into the whole realm after a certain point into here, and just kind of talk about certain people and kind of what they're doing for these episodes. So, we seem to have Logan, who is, of course, very distraught about his wife dying. And so, which is to be ruled as a, of course, self-harming situation instead of an actual murder. Because, yeah, they've ruled that to be that. Because, if anything, in the last episode, Bree was to think that her life via another person was to be ending soon, and then she didn't want to die in a painful way, so she decided to jump out a window, I guess. That was the reasoning that someone else had in their brain about the whole situation. So Logan is going to taking in alcohol and just getting drunk as humanly possible. Like, he's mourning over the loss of his wife, and there's like really just like all he has left is Junior. To where it's like Junior is just like, how is Logan gonna really like his son besides just pushing him to be just like. We go on and we have Logan, who is to go outside because Junior is going and fighting with Jake, and is to mention that his mother would not have been dead right now if Jake wasn't here. And Junior is still jealous that Lexi and Devin has been spending so much time with Jake and so on and so forth. Here's the thing that just popped into my brain also. I coincidentally was watching this movie called Masquerade that came out, I think, 2020 or 2021. And weirdly, it actually had Lexi, the girl that plays Lexi in this show. She was actually in that film. And I was like, okay, this is so weird. It's so weird. I went in there and I like saw like, is that Lexi? I'm like, oh my god, that is Lexi. Like I know she actually has a legitimate name, but like I don't have IMDb on me right now because like I'm going and winging this. Because this episode is pretty dang easy. They're not incorporating anybody new. They're not incorporating anybody from the other films. So I kind of feel safe of just going like, yeah, I don't really need the IMDb for this one. Like I think it's pretty easy. A lot of people have been killed off so far, so it's pretty dang easy. So with the exclusion of certain like names that might pop up at some point, but we'll get to that. So Logan goes and breaks up this fight between Jake and Junior, and then all of a sudden we have Tiffany who comes to this wake and is to see Logan and is to hug on him and is to kiss him, and then Tiffany is to walk off. And and Junior is like, who is that woman? Why is she here? And that's just driving Junior freaking nuts. And here's the thing that we never got revealed. Was Bree's thing that she was just going to therapy, or like we then have to go backpedaling and be like, well, could she have been having an affair? Like maybe Logan knew about it? Maybe Logan knew about any number of things? Who knows? Maybe that's the real guilt of Logan, but we'll never know now. We'll never know. We'll never know. Because we'll go on to this episode, and we'll see where things play out here. So Jake is to go off to see Devin, and so Devin is going through and picking through his room and just taking all of his items, and he of course is to tell Jake about him possibly having to go to foster home and whatever, to just because his aunt won't take care of him forever. So after it seems that Devin is thinking about leaving, we kind of have Jake, who is to go onto that same route also, to think that maybe him being here, like Junior says, is causing all this death. And so that Jake is going to go and backpack to wherever he is to go to next. And so when Jake goes off, I think, to some subway station where he is to have like a fistful of cash that he stole from Logan's wallet, Jake is to find this Chucky doll at this subway station. And so Jake is to go on and ask this guy, like, hey, like, where were you going to send this doll? Like, hey, can I buy this from you? And the guy says, like, $350. And Jake buys it from him and then goes back home to then talk to Lexi about what had happened and how this doll is going right back to Charles's old home, which was very odd. So we also have it to where Devin was just thinking that he was to just go off and be a guy who's going to move away from all this, to all of a sudden a guy who's like, you know what, I want to do some real investigating. Some investigating that is to lead him to go into a home and find Nika being taped up. Devin finds Nika, and so Devin is to ask Nika, like, hey, what's your name? And so Nika's like, well, sometimes I go by Charles. And so we're assuming that Devin is probably going to die because of Nika. I'm like, oh my god, this is horrific. So now we have Junior, who is to contemplate that maybe his father had an affair. And so all of a sudden, Tiffany is to come back, and Junior is to see Tiffany. And so Junior is to ask Tiffany, like, how is it that Tiffany knows this family? And so Tiffany leaves it very vague, and then she ends up leaving, just kind of hinting at maybe her and his father maybe had an affair, but she's leaving it very vague, and then she walks off. So Junior then finally walks over to this Chucky doll and is to talk to him, and is to really just be convinced that Junior is going to possibly kill any number of people. And then when Chucky does manipulate Junior into killing anybody, we have Chucky who is just be so happy that he finally manipulated somebody into finally killing. Because he was just like, man, I worked all you guys over, and not a one of you, like, were going to pull the trigger, but finally I found somebody. Finally I went to... And I was like, yeah, like, this, like, Chucky has been trying so hard, and I was really hoping that one of the kids would go to the dark side, because I thought that would be a really interesting story to finally have a kid who is to have this doll and is to murder people as equal to Charlie, or Chucky. So we have the mayor. Let's talk about the mayor. We have the mayor who's going and is trying to boost morale after all these murders. And so morale is to say, like, hey, like, we She doesn't say who it is, but like they have Fairchild supposedly in custody, which what hard evidence do they really have, like smoking gun wise, on Fairchild? They don't. So don't really understand where exactly they're going to go with this whole Fairchild thing. And I think they don't want to go really anywhere with it and just say that, oh, like Fairchild, like she did it. Like, even though there's not really any real legitimate proof. So you just, like, I don't even think this girl really has a motive. Like, I don't know. It seems very fishy. I think they're going to release her because lack of evidence or something like that. But the mayor is telling the people, hey, we have somebody in custody for these murders. Like, hey, like, we're all, like, definitely going to need a morale boost to try to get back to normal. So how about we all go to some movie theater and see Frankenstein, and everybody just go on and see Frankenstein, and this and that. And so all of a sudden we start to have certain news reporters asking questions. And so one news reporter asked Caroline questions about, hey, are you ever tempted, Caroline, to be a mayor like your mother? And so Caroline's response is, Chucky told me to kill my mother. It's like, whoa, okay. So Lexi goes and talks to Caroline and is to tell her, like, what is it that, or asks her, like, what did Chucky tell you? Caroline was to be told to basically just kill every one of her family members. And it's like, well, yeah, like, what is he gonna say? Oh, only just kill the, like, evil people. No, like, so let's cover the flashbacks. Let's go into those, how pointless they were, but they're still a part of the show. I say that they're pointless only because, like, they have no real effect on, like, the current time thing. I don't understand, like, a flashback. Like, I can understand the car one because the car one was to be shown that Tiffany was to still have the car. I get that, but I still feel that one was pointless also. Like, why do I need to know the complete origin story of a car? Who cares? Like, that feels bad, but I just, like, I don't get it. Here's also the funny thing. I have seen two released movies that bizarrely have either Child's Play or a Chucky movie in it. Because I recently saw Ghostbusters Afterlife, and that has some footage of a Child's Play movie in there. And I saw the movie Black Friday with Bruce Campbell and Devon Sawa, which was great. Check that movie out. As well as maybe check out Masquerade if you have some interest in that kind of film with Lexi in it. But freaking Black Friday was great. I know I apologize. I know I've mentioned that plenty of times. I don't know. It's just a new movie that just really intrigued me. But I talk about it too often. But check out the review. Well, don't check out the review. Just check out the movie. Just watch a trailer of it and you'll be like, well, alright. Probably you'll wait till it comes out in free, or you'll probably go to some app that I've recommended through numerous times over to just go on and watch it for free regardless, you know? Because it's convenient. I don't get money for anybody downloading that app. I don't get money for anything. YouTube. Anyway, thanks a lot, YouTube. Appreciate it. Like, could you just be a real friend out of this whole? Anyways, pushing on. So, where was I? So, I don't know why the movie whole thing came in there. I guess really, flashbacks. So, flashbacks the first flashback we are to see is that Tiffany and Chucky are humping it out after they are to kill some pizza man. And I was like, you know what? Like, I could probably this flashback is pointless, but like killing a pizza man is always kind of a fun thing, even though it just is a pointless scene. And then we have another flashback where we're to see the kind of dissension between the ranks of Tiffany and Chucky, because Tiffany is to come home and find out that Chucky had killed a man or killed a person while Tiffany wasn't there. And so Tiffany is to tell Chucky, it's like, hey, like, we don't kill anymore together. And so Chucky's like, well, hey, I'm going to go and head out. Like, covered in blood, I'm going to go and head out somewhere. Hopefully no one's going to arrest me. Because I'm covered in blood. And, like, so that's like that's pretty much the flashbacks. Okay. So, hey, nah. So let's cover the Andy and Kyle story, as it's just, there's some time being taken for those folks. So really they're just still driving along to somewhere, which I'm assuming is to be Jake's home. Man, are they taking some detours, because we have Kyle and Andy who go to this gas station, and so Kyle had found some gloves for them to wear. I guess they really actually want to wear driving gloves. And so it seems that Kyle is to take up smoking or retake up smoking. So Andy decides to go and lock his car door, forcing Kyle to run off after him as Andy's to drive away. And so now Kyle is, I guess, to have to huff it. Like, she wants to go and help out Andy. She's going to have to figure out a way to either film it, meaning, or figure out some way of how she can make it to where Andy still is going. So basically that's just that. So I'm trying to think here if there's anything else that I need to cover. No, because I want to save the because I'm going to save the Junior thing for last, because that's like great. It's the best part of the show. But I've already kind of tiptoed my way into it. So Junior is talking to Chucky, and so at one point we have Jake, who's kind of listening in on the Junior / Chucky conversation, which really just wants Jake to just go ahead and leave this house. So Chucky is trying to manipulate Junior to say, it's like, well, hey, like, your dad, I'm starting to sound like Chucky. Your dad, your dad had an affair on your mother. You know how bad that is? You know how bad that is, son? Junior? Your dad. And just Junior is to be manipulated by Chucky to just go off and just kill everybody. And so we get Logan, after being this like drunken slob of a man, who wakes up and makes his way to Junior's room. And so the main focus thing on my mind here is that Chucky is to all of a sudden kind of twist his head around and is to have his kind of doll voice starting to do numerous things of dialogue, like mostly at first like his like go-to phrases, but then after that uh we have Chucky like spouting out that man, you smell really drunk. And Logan's like, how are you getting this doll to say that? And like Chucky's like, well, yeah, like I guess Lucas and Logan like are kind of one and the same, huh? Kind of a real joke because Devin Sawa is playing two different characters here, and so it's kind of goofy because the way of which that we end this episode, I'm like, man, like Devin Sawa played two characters in this show. We're really looking at he played two characters in this show. So let's play the rest of this out. So more and more Charles is to just kind of be heckling Logan, and it just gets to the point where Logan just starts to get angry, just starts to get upset. And so instead of actually having Chucky go and kill Logan here, instead we end up having it to where Junior ends up going and taking this doll and consistently bashing in Logan's brains to where at some point he dies. And so that's when Chucky's like, oh my god, like I finally did it. Like I finally got one of you people. Finally. And so Junior is to go and spout out the one song. Weirdly, we got the beat. Everybody did we got the beat. And so I'm just like, what a weird song to be like singing or whatever. But what a just weird song to end a show. And I'm just so like scratching my head. Like, this is weird. But not only that, like we also have this spot where we find us realizing that there is a huge, massive number of Chucky dolls that have all assembled that are all to have a soul. And I'm just like, man, this is going to be like a Gremlin scenario where, like, in possibly the next episodes, we're probably just going to have Chucky's just running rampant all over town. And I'm like, man, this is going to be some crazy episodes. And so, like, that's where it's all heading in the end, is just to have, like, these massive Chucky dolls, which is to basically be, like, Cult of Chucky in a much more massive scale for the dolls. So, yeah, so we'll kind of see where this heads. Yeah, I think I covered most of this episode, but there was some kind of parts, little bits and pieces here. But I otherwise feel good about what I covered. So I think I'm going to get the heck out of here. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, everybody. There's something that I forgot about. More than likely, there will be a rebuttal for next week. But I think I kind of feel good about everything that I covered here. Let me know in the comments below if your favorite part probably was the Junior situation, or probably the death of Logan, Lucas. Because basically neither one of these characters no longer exist anymore now. Let me know what you feel about possibly the whole affair, possibly of Junior's like family or parents. I wonder kind of what is going to happen with Junior and Jake now that they have no, like, what family are they going to go to next after this whole situation just plays out? Man, it feels like Jake is starting to run out of family here. Maybe Jake is just going to end up living at Lexi's house. You would think, right? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if the mayor is going to really want to adopt Jake. Maybe Junior, but I don't know about Jake. But yeah, so yeah, with that said, I think I've covered. So I'm going to get out of here. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.